My coaching business truly began in a space of wonder, if it makes sense. I've always had this natural skill in this area of being what I call Hey Jodee. And Hey Jodee was just this place where people leaned into me for advice, for information, for guidance, for all these things. And over the years, I eventually just honed that space. And I share that in saying coaching and leadership both together have always been natural places for me to land. And after spending, I want to say 3 decades, both experientially and formally educating myself in these pockets, what came through that space was just this pure, I almost want to say this pure healing space. And it was just this natural leader that was refined and honed into the, I want to say the essence of Jodee. But I share that in saying my coaching practice is really founded on this concept of it doesn't matter where we start. What matters is what we're willing to learn in order to heal. And so I just share that in saying a lot of times people say, well, I have this kind of background, or I was never able to finish school, or whatever the stories are they tell themselves, right? And I just share in saying none of that really matters. What matters is what we're willing to do today in order to move forward. And the more of our natural self we bring to that space, the further we're going to get. So my company is called Human Behavior Architects, and we really try to spend time creating conscious leaders. And I feel like I'm going to slow down as I explain that and say, a lot of times leaders lead from this default space. They lead from this, well, I did it before, let me teach people how to do it the way that I did it. And I candidly share that I think the word coach is also thrown around a lot in society today as a word that we throw behind what we're good at, versus saying what we're good at and the way that we did it usually doesn't help other people get there. And so my company is called Human Behavior Architects, and we really spend time trying to teach people how to get the exact behavior they want out of the people that they lead. So I share that in saying we work a lot with healthcare professionals, with educators, with executive leadership, and we're working with them trying to explain to them that although they have this natural born talent, getting the exact outcome out of the people they lead requires another skill. And that's really the skill that we teach. And that's our, I want to say our signature experience. Receiving the award and the moment, I feel like it almost makes me emotional, but in that moment is the moment when you realize you're on the right page. You realize that this wasn't all for nothing and that you weren't just chasing a dream, but that you actually have the capacity to affect change. And so I think it's one thing to get really good at what we like or to feed our own soul. But when we realize that it has the capacity to change other people and that you're truly onto something and that the world needs that, I think that moment for me was receiving that award, that recognition. That recognition in itself, just the awareness of, hey, not only am I onto something, but I think that the words that I'm sharing are the exact words that someone else is looking for. So the moment was powerful. It was pivotal for me. It's interesting to even look at, I took it out of the box. I was still keeping it in the box. I took it out of the box again today and decided just to keep it out. I don't know why I was keeping it contained and secure. Right? I wasn't displaying it. I think using the award as leverage creates this, I feel like it's a gray area for me, to be honest. I feel like I'm somebody who's incredibly humble and I don't usually share those things, but I think this one's different. This was a female voice award. And I share that in saying using our voice and leading with that story is how we affect change. So as humble as I am, and as much as I wouldn't want to use this as leverage, I think using it just to pave the way and say, hey, listen, I honored my intuition. I leaned into it. I kind of shut the world out. I wrote a book. I opened a coaching company. I did all these things that honored who I am. And as I emerged out, I realized there were people watching. I realized that I had won this award. And I realized that by just simply getting quiet and listening to my intuition, that was how I affected change. And so I think it's leveraging it by saying, this is how you show up in the world. And this is how you show up in the world, is by just being your natural self and honing that space and leaning into your own authenticity and allowing it to carry you. So what's next for me is I'm currently working on, I feel like this is a loaded statement, but I'm currently working on teaching leaders about the connection between language and the biopsychosocial experience. So I share that in saying, what's next for me is I'm in the middle of a doctoral journey. So I'm putting together my dissertation and I'm creating some deep awareness around how we teach people how to heal versus how to treat. I think a lot of times people are, and I gently say this, I think people are decorating and medicating, right? They're decorating their exterior and medicating themselves in order to feel better versus saying, how do I heal from the inside out? And so that's really my jam, is connecting that space, connecting that biopsychosocial experience with language for leaders so that they can help others gain that same thing. And I share that in saying the people I think are responsible for the core of that are healthcare professionals, educators, and parents. So that's really what I'm working on next. I think receiving the award for me in my career shows me that I'm onto something, and it shows me that the world is looking for what I'm sharing. It's looking for what I'm researching and what I'm building. And I candidly share that I might not be right all the time, but I think I'm really onto something. And I think that's a really powerful character of a coach, is to lean in and to kind of discern and to, I don't want to say pick through, but really, what's the word I'm looking for? To kind of create some research and to narrow down, right? To climb through things. You might pick something up and say, is this it? And people go, no. And you go, is this it? And they go, no. And you pick something else up and they're like, I didn't even know that was there, right? And so I think the same thing is true in my career or in research or in all these things, is just trying new things and tapping into something and saying, is this theory part of this? No. Is this theory part of this? Oh, yes and no. So a piece of it is and a piece of it's not. And I think it's about being brave and being curious at the same time and saying, people might think I'm outside the box thinker. They might think I'm a little bit crazy on the angle I'm taking towards this, but I think I'm correct. Like, I think I'm onto something, and I think that the journey is worth it, knowing that it has the capacity to affect so many lives. I'm available on all social media platforms as just, my handle is at Jodee Gibson, and Jodee is spelled Jodee, Gibson, Gibson. And my website is also the same, jodeegibson.com. You can find my book on Amazon. It's called Healing Your Map, and it's a guide to understanding discernment, trauma, and human behavior.